I'm Karl Viewig. This is Laurie Viewig. We have 4 children, ages from 29 to 22.
So Karl and I met in 1988, and we got married. And I was very young. I was 18 when we got married. So the first, I would say, 14 years of our marriage was very rough for me. We had our children immediately and back to back about every 2.5 years. And so he was still kind of running around and doing his thing, and he doesn't mind if I share this, we've talked about it. And so it was really hard on me. God did a great work in Karl's life. It was something that was just like a completely, a 180, turned him around. He was really serving the Lord, living for God. I never had any questions about what God had done in his life. There was actually infidelity on his part when we were in Mississippi, but when God actually moved in his life, I knew he had changed. Absolutely no question, and still no question to this day. We wound up moving to North Carolina in 2004. And so I had lived in the same place for 35 years. I was very grounded in the same church, since I was 16, I think. So when we moved here, having never been away from home, we really had problems finding a good home church and getting grounded and back in that, back in the same place that we were in Mississippi. We wound up partying and doing all kind of things that we never did in Mississippi together. Through that time in our lives, there was actually infidelity on my part. After enough was enough and we just couldn't take it anymore, I finally wound up leaving in January of 2013.
She just left, so I was stuck there with the children. And I understand the kind of, probably the feelings that she had, because I was actually doing it in Mississippi, so I could relate to it.
But we did wind up getting a divorce.
We did end up getting a divorce. It was me that pushed for the divorce in December 18th of 2015. I was supposed to go back to Mississippi, never did. I was a contractor here. Then I fell into a permanent position, so that was just another thing for God to show me right there, I'm supposed to be here.
I started really trying to get my life back to God, just to really devote everything to God. So I had tried many times, and I would think I was gonna be okay, and then I would slide back. And the whole time I was thinking, I hope I make it, I hope I make it, I hope I make it, and then I wouldn't. But in June, I was really, really steadfast and determined. And I had a lot of encouragement along the way, oddly enough, from our youngest daughter. So she was in college, but every time she came back, she would bring me to church. And I actually was able to get into a small group here, into the Soul Sisters. And that was huge for me. I had came to church here ever since they were in Middle Creek, of course, off and on through all these years. But when I finally got involved in a small group with the Soul Sisters, I finally felt like I belonged. I had really been praying about my life, and I'm like, God, I am so happy and content right now. I'm like, if you want me to stay single, I will stay single for the rest of my life, as long as I can feel this contentment. I'm like, I really don't care. I'm like, this is what I want. Please help me not to get into another relationship with a lot of drama, and I'm like, I just want peace in my life. I don't really need a man, I just need peace. That's it. All I need is you. And I had really gotten to that point in my life. So worship is, worship isn't that we're in the worship, we're closing, and out of absolutely nowhere, God speaks to me and he says, I'm gonna restore your and Karl's marriage. And I, just like in the movies, like I dropped to my seat. I was open to kind of what was going on. I was feeling closer to him. I was feeling more comfortable with him. It was very evident that he had changed a lot since we were together.
So I knew something was changing, and watching her go back to church where her roots are, I knew that she was changing for the better too. So even though I wasn't back in church yet, I was watching from afar from to her. When she asked me to go to church with her, I said yes. Kind of be awkward, but then she said, well, it doesn't matter. We're good. So we went to church, and then when she told me that, I think my jaw probably dropped to the ground. I was just like, oh my gosh. Now it all makes sense. Everything that God's it's like He's been putting pieces in my head and pieces of puzzle here and there, and then everything came together, and it was just like, this is it.
So that's really where we're at, is we're getting remarried for the second time. And I really felt like God had spoken to me, because I was thinking, this is a new chapter in our life. And I really feel like God had spoken to me and said, no, this is not a new chapter in your life. This is a whole new book.